Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown. I'm Matthew Oliver from Stillwater Alchemy, and this week we have some very prominent aspects going on in the astrology. Also, a lot of things are wrapping up because we have Mars leaving Taurus and it's going to ingress into Gemini. It's the last full week of Leo season because next week we are entering Virgo season. So, lots to be excited about. I have a funny story to share. So we all know, or most of us know, that J-Lo and Ben Affleck are now married, but Ben Affleck used to be married to Jennifer Gardner. And one of my favorite Jennifer Gardner movies is 13 going on 30. And I saw this meme of how in one of the scenes in 13 going on 30, you see Jennifer Gardner like taking magazines that has J-Lo's photos on it. And it's like J-Lo's always been following Jennifer Gardner. And it gave me nostalgia for that movie. And then knowing how insane the chemistry was between Jennifer Gardner and Mark Ruffalo, the two leads in that movie. And I was like, okay, I just need to find this movie and watch it again. And then I went down this rabbit hole of trying to find a streaming platform that had it, like Crave or Netflix or Amazon Prime. And I discovered a new dating show called Cosmic Love that's purely based on the astrology of the contestants. So for each element, they had one main contestant searching for love. And then there was all these other contestants that eventually would be paired up with one of the elements, so that each element had four contestants that they had to choose from to with the hopes of getting married at the end of the 8 or 10 episodes. I will say I may or may not have watched all the episodes, and it was pretty good, especially for a dating show, because they took in the whole chart, not just the sun sign, even though they use the sun sign as like the main indicator of like how to categorize these people. So if you're looking for a new show to watch and you have Amazon Prime, I would recommend it. I'll probably do like a video to review this whole thing, but there was not one queer contestant on this astrologically based dating show, which I thought was very strange and a missed opportunity for the air element to be Libra and be like a bisexual who couldn't make decisions when it came time to do the eliminations. And then going back to 13 going on 30, one, that movie is almost 20 years old. And secondly, Jennifer Gardner is such like a Cancerian energy in that film. I was like, oh, I wonder if she has any Cancer in her chart. And her rising is Cancer. And Mark Ruffalo, his moon is in the sign of Cancer. Synastry for the win. So just some little astro tidbits outside of the week ahead in case you are curious what I get up to when I am not working. And let's jump into the astrology, shall we? So we are starting on August 15th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Monday, a really great day. We start off this week phenomenally because we have the moon in Aries conjunct Jupiter, and then the moon and Jupiter are making this trine to Venus. So honestly, this may just seem like a 180 completely to what you felt over the weekend. Remember that we just had that Aquarius full moon at the end of last week. If you'd like a resource, I'll put the link to our full moon workshop in the description of this video. I heard from a lot of people that over the weekend, they didn't really feel like doing anything productive, or that they were just processing a lot, integrating. That full moon was conjunct Saturn. And so I often find with lunations or eclipses, sometimes you can feel it on the day, but sometimes it happens a few days later when you're integrating, especially with the moon conjunct Neptune, what we experienced over the weekend. You might have just been emotional or feeling a lot or kind of dissociating, wanting to escape a very tough or challenging energy that you've been facing. So now this is enthusiasm. This is jovial, cheerful energy with all of this fire energy being activated. So on a very simple, easy note, you might just be extremely happy or wake up on the right side of the bed where you're just like have a more optimistic sense of what you want to pursue. It could also be really good transit for love or connecting with loved ones or opportunity as well, right? And this is going to be for the next few days, especially as Venus gets closer and closer to that exact fire trine. So One thing to note, if you want to get even more specific with the astrology, look to the houses in your chart that are ruled by Aries and Leo, because then you'll really see where this Venus Jupiter trine is going to help you, and especially on Monday with the moon in Aries. But secondly, if you have any fire placements in your natal chart, so either Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, between, let's say, 4 to 10 degrees, you'll really feel it this week as well. So just something to get even more specific with the astrology. And other transits to note as we start off the week, we still have this Mars Pluto trine, which is really good in terms of power, autonomy, what you're wanting to change. This could also be power dynamics, or you may be wanting to exert your power or wanting to take things a step further. Remember, with Mars and Taurus, we've been dealing with this transit for a while now, and it can sometimes be hard with Mars and Taurus because it moves very slowly or wants to move at its own pace, where usually Mars, the planet, likes to speed things up and wants to get things done. So you might be at a point in your life where either you're getting extremely nuanced and really honing in on your power in a certain area of life, or you might be coming to terms internally with something around Mars's influence, whether that's passion, enthusiasm, work ethic, or sexual desire, sexual intensity, something of that nature. So that could also be something that you're dealing with as well, in terms of, this is now what I want to do, this is what I want to pursue, and kind of recapping the last month or so and really understanding what you learned with Mars's transit in Taurus, because that power dynamic or that internal revelation around Mars's themes, or something that you've been slowly working towards, might be highlighted as we end out Mars's transit. Okay. Once we move to Tuesday, we have this Mercury Uranus trine, which is really nice, which I also think is going to contribute to some kind of paradigm shift, or there might be some change in thinking, or if you're feeling stuck or you're wanting to brainstorm this day, this would be a really great day to do so. So if you wanted to have a conversation, or if you are an artist or a creative or a business owner and you're trying to think of new ways to communicate or advertise or market or do content for social media, Tuesday is a phenomenal day. Tuesday would also be a good day to post on social media. You know, sometimes on these breakdowns, I'm one to advocate for taking a step back from social media on certain days. On Tuesday, I would go all in if you are one to use those platforms or enjoy those platforms. There might also be some kind of news situations going on, or a lot of opinions going on Tuesday. We also have the moon making a trine to the sun. So this is also a great day to put yourself first, almost like shoot your shot. Or if you wanted to ask someone out or put yourself out there, again, we're still really benefiting from this Venus Jupiter trine. So Tuesday, again, is ruled by Mars. We still have, honestly, this Mars Pluto trine in activation as well. So be bold, be daring, do what you feel is best to exert your dominance, to put yourself in the spotlight and get what you want. I think this would be a really beautiful day to do so, because when we shift into Wednesday and Thursday, things shift a little bit this week. So when we get to Wednesday, we have the moon in Taurus. We love the moon in Taurus. The moon is exalted in Taurus. I do want to say that given that we still have Mars here, there is going to be this influence here of looking to, one, the house in your chart ruled by Taurus, because there's going to be a lot of amplified energy. And now on Wednesday, the moon is making a square to Venus. And so that can be a little bit tricky as well. The one thing I want to monitor here is, like I said on Tuesday, put yourself in the spotlight, make sure that you are seen or being bold and daring in your approach or conversations. On Wednesday, you may feel a little bit of, when you have that big moment of expansion, and then right after there might be a fear because now you're at the next level, or now you got what you wanted. And sometimes your mind, in trying to protect itself, is saying, what happens if you lose this? What happens if you mess this up? What happens if people don't like you? Whatever those self-sabotaging thoughts are, that could be an energy here. One thing I will say on Wednesday overall is just not comparing yourself to others. I think both Taurus and Leo can be on their shadow side a bit materialistic, or sometimes they can be vain with regards to their beauty and appearance. So if you can not compare yourself or not wish ill of others, then you won't fall into the trap of this Moon Venus square. And another way that you can use this, if there is someone in your life, especially if there's like a mother figure or your own mother or a sister, and any kind of feminine energy in your life that you need to resolve conflict with, this would be a really great day to do so. So let's say you get a promotion or something great happens to you and you share it with a mother or a female friend, and then they're not really happy for you, or you can sense maybe some envy or jealousy. Maybe you just want to clear the air. Maybe you just want to get this out in the open because maybe this is a common theme in your life. Or maybe for yourself, you're not even able to get excited for yourself or having someone to share that with. So Wednesday, we can kind of play with that because we want to make sure that with the moon in Taurus that we're feeling safe and secure. And this just kind of came to me right now, being cautious of any kind of body issues or insecurities there, because again, with the moon representing our body and health, squaring Venus, it can sometimes lead to insecurity as well. So that could also be piggybacking off my previous note of comparing ourselves and making sure that we're just feeling safe in our body, period. Okay. With Wednesday and us expanding on these energies, we have a lot. So if you recall at the beginning of August, that was right around that Leo new moon, August 1st and August 2nd, we had the North Node Uranus Mars conjunction at 18 degrees. And now the moon is here. So I was thinking this might be kind of like a 2-week follow-up to what you experienced at the beginning of August, or let's say halfway through Leo season. So now that we are nearing the end of Leo season, what has come through, or there might be a different paradigm shift or kind of like a part 2 or a bookend to what you're experiencing at the beginning of August, especially looking obviously at the house that rules Taurus, that there might have been a very stark change of opinion or mindset, and now maybe new information has come to light, or maybe you want to alter it a little bit because you know certain things that have transpired, especially after that Aquarius full moon, right? So these are just things to look at. And Thursday by far is one of the most challenging days of this week, just because now we have the moon conjunct Uranus and Mars. That can be tricky. And again, Uranus isn't good or bad with regards to dignity, not even dignity, but in terms of being benefic or malefic. Mars is known as being more malefic, and especially not being in the best placement in Taurus. We have the moon making a square to Saturn. We have the moon making a square to the sun, and then it's opposing the south node. So it just seems like there might be like a hurry up and wait, or you getting frustrated at something or someone. I do want to share, there was a very similar transit that I remember in January when the moon was in Leo, thus opposing Saturn and making a square to Uranus. This would have been like mid-January. I want to say January 19th when I was researching this for this video. And I got really upset and frustrated with a Leo in my life, and they were just being really annoying. And we had this kind of like disagreement that did not end very well. And it was just like me honestly expressing how I felt, but then the Leo's ego getting in the way and him not even being able to understand what I was saying. So I bring that up because there could be frustrations emotionally where you might have to put up boundaries, but by putting up boundaries, you might be upsetting someone's ego. And by doing that, there might be a shift in the relationship, or you realizing that this relationship is not even working anyway, and that it'd be nice to maybe either put it on pause or let it go completely. Again, that's not going to be resonant for everyone, but I do just want to point out that Thursday, try not to let your emotions get the best of you. Try not to let your ego override certain things. Like if you have a tiff or a disagreement or an argument with someone, try to be compassionate. I know that's easier said than done, or try to see things a certain way. And Thursday would be the day if we had to pick one day this week that I would maybe stay off of social media, because you might just be dealing with a lot, or you might see a certain post or a certain story or something that just triggers you. And we don't want to disrupt the flow if we can avoid it. Okay. The good news is once we get past Thursday, things shift a little bit. And as in a little, I mean a lot, in a really good way. And that's not me being shady, taking a sip. I just want some coffee. So we have the moon in Gemini, which is quite nice to help lighten things up in comparative what we had the past 2 days with the moon in Taurus going through everything. I will say, depending on your time zone, Friday, you might still be having that moon conjunct Mars. So just being aware that you might still be going through a lot. Oh, the one thing I should mention, so Wednesday and Thursday, right, with the moon in aspect to Mars here, we want to make sure we're getting enough rest, that we're not overworking ourselves. Taurus energy is very much, I want to work hard and make a lot of money, but I also want to be comfortable and do nothing in comfy clothes. If you are feeling exhausted, or maybe you were working a lot last week, taking time midweek for yourself, like I would really get a massage on Wednesday or Thursday. With Mars there might be a likely energy to get injured or to get sick. If you remember a couple weeks ago when I got sick, plus had my injured knee when we had a difficult moon Mars energy, that's not, again, going to manifest for everyone. But if you, let's say, have an injury or something in your body that you want to get checked out, I would book that appointment, go see that specialist, go see that doctor on Wednesday or Thursday to help utilize the moon Mars energy, especially with Saturn involved. If you exercise, make sure you stretch, warm up, cool down, maybe do a warm-up set if you're at the gym lifting weights Wednesday, Thursday, okay? Good. So back to Friday. The moon is making a sextile to Venus, which is quite nice. And so this could be a nice energy that we get to use with regards to being fun and flirty, going out, being social. I would definitely do something of that nature on Friday, just to go out with loved ones, spend some time, and go out, have some fun. Especially with the moon in Gemini, you might want to talk about the events of the week with someone who also wants to talk and just lighten the mood. I also just find that with Gemini being an air sign ruled by Mercury, that they can just be funny, witty, talkative. I also just feel every Gemini moon in my life, or people that I meet, they're also just very good at being fun, being like shady, or being fun to talk with about the events of the world, or talk to about certain things. They just know how to be sarcastic, sardonic, and they really do spill the tea in all ways possible. So if you need to connect with someone or just get things out in a verbose manner, Friday night would be a beautiful day to do so. Okay. And this is also Mars's last day in Taurus. So there might be a pinnacle or something Martian in energy that comes through. I also just feel like Friday is a day where there might be a lot of frisky Martian energy manifesting in the cosmos. So have fun with that if you so choose. Now, Saturday. Saturday is just a pretty monumental day because now we have Mars in Gemini. We're going to be kind of following this for a while because Mars is going to be in Gemini for the next 7 months. Yes, Mars will be in Gemini until March 25th, 2023. That's because Mars is going to station retrograde on October 30th, 31st, and it's going to be retrograde until mid-January of 2023. So if you recall, the last time Mars was retrograde was when it was in Aries in 2020. And so Mars stations retrograde once every 2 years. And so when it does, we just get a very long Mars transit, because usually Mars is in a sign for 5 to 6 weeks. Now we get it for 7 months. So, of course, look to the house in your chart that is ruled by Gemini, because you are going to receive a masterclass with this energy in that part of your chart. The one thing I will say, with this Mars in Gemini, if I had to kind of summarize it in one phrase, I would say the pen is mightier than the sword, being very cautious of our words. And if we want to build other people up, or if we want to tear them down, I feel like it's going to be very easy to do or tap into this. If you are more of a mild, well-mannered individual, you might find yourself speaking out more or wanting to speak out more about certain matters. And if you're already very talkative and very opinionated, this might just amplify that up tenfold, especially in the house in which Gemini rules. So it could be about work or finances or relationships, whatever that may be. Secondly, if you have lots of air energy in your chart, so Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, this might be really good in amplifying how you do things. You might be able to get a lot of things done faster, or you might have more motivation or more passion in those areas of your life. If you have a lot of Gemini energy, of course, this could manifest in different ways, just depending on how other things in your chart manifest. But overall, I kind of like Mars. I mean, I like all the planets, but I like how Mars gives you that kind of speed burst, like in Mario Kart or just in life, to get things done in a more proficient manner, or just wanting to have more power and control and autonomy in those themes. And we kind of look to power and control with Pluto, but with Mars, it likes to conquer, it likes to work, it likes to have something to do. So usually that's an increase in productivity and an increase in inspiration, because you want to get these things done, or there's an end goal in sight, or it just kind of gives you the energy to pursue whatever that may be. Last thing I'll say about this for now is that if you have a lot of mutable energy in your chart, so we're talking Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, or Virgo, this could just be something to watch, because then Mars is going to be making either squares, oppositions, or conjunctions in your chart. So depending on where your mutable placements fall, it'll just be something to watch, especially once we get to October. Let's not talk about that, because Scorpio season, eclipse season is very challenging. The one thing that's challenging is because then Mars at that point will be making a square to Neptune. So there'll be a lot of potential messiness. And we'll talk about that come Scorpio season, okay? Okay. Aside from that, just getting back to the more micro analysis of this, now we have the moon making a sextile to Venus. Now Mars is co-present the moon. So this is kind of an extended version of that kind of frisky, playful, easy breezy energy that I was talking about on Friday. So again, no matter what your time zone, Friday, Saturday, great days just to like go out, have fun, let your hair down, which is a really nice reprieve from Wednesday, Thursday of this week. So enjoy the social energy. Even just if you wanted to and you do rituals or you journal, or just really understanding how you want to use Mars's influence in Gemini. So things to think about: how would I like to communicate? How do I want to use my mindset to my advantage? Do I find that my mind is running the show? And if so, how am I going to give myself the proper resources to calm my mind down, to calm my nervous system down, to be productive, or perhaps to be the most productive I've ever been? Because of course, with Mars and Gemini, if you're an overthinker to begin with, this is just going to amplify it, especially if you deal with anxiety or depression or just being caught up in your mind, period. This is something that I would give warning to, let's say, especially if you have a lot of Virgo placements, just because then Mars will be making a square to your Virgo placements, and that could just really get you in your head. So this could be a great time to find those resources to help you mentally, so that you do not have to do double time or to dig yourself out of that come the fall or come September, October. Okay. Not to scare anyone, but just to be honest and give the resources and the heads up accordingly. And once we get to Sunday, we're now nearing the end of the moon's transit in Gemini. We do have the moon making a nice sextile to the sun, which is nice. And again, too, with Sunday being ruled by the sun and then having some nice energy with the moon in Gemini, This could also be a very fun day to put yourself in the spotlight, to do something social, to maybe post on social media. This is actually a nice time, especially as we're nearing out the end of Leo season, to put yourself front and center or to make those connections. If there's like a networking event, or let's say your friends like, we should go to this pool party or we should go to this event, this is a time where I would say, yes, go and do it. We even have the moon making a square to Mercury, which again, for me, not necessarily bad. I think it would amplify the more social element of these transits. I will say, just don't get in your head. This would be a time where it's like, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? What are people thinking? How should I react? If you can just go with the flow and choose happiness and joy over getting stuck in your head, then you'll have a beautiful end to your weekend. Okay? Boom. Oh, the one thing I will say, one thing, many things I like to say. I always just like to edit it down to the most important things, but we do have the moon making that trine to Saturn. And with now the Mars in Gemini, one note or one suggestion that I would give, especially now on Sunday, is switching up your routines or switching up how you do things. So let's say every Sunday you always do laundry or get groceries or kind of do those adult things to set yourself up for the week. Maybe do one of those things on Saturday, or switch up the order that you do it, or just change the way that you enjoy the weekend to see if that gives more creativity or adds more ease. Or maybe you always go to the same brunch spot. I would really encourage you to see if you can switch things up with all this mutable energy being activated over the weekend, to see if switching up your social outings or switching up how you do things adds to better structure and boundaries throughout the week. Okay, just like a note that I had, if that helps. Even just switching up how we do things gives us room to see how we move differently and to not get stuck in a pattern that just repeats every day, every week, every month, that we're now consciously making a decision to switch up how we interact with energies on a day-to-day basis. It can even be how you do your morning and evening routine. Maybe you're switching how things fall into place just to see how things land. Okay, that would be a note that I would give. Now, for the astrology question of the week. So this is from Brain Bootcamp. So the question is, how does gender play a role in astrology, especially in regards to hormone cycles in relation to the moon? So thank you, Brain Bootcamp, for that question. I thought this is prominent given that we just had the full moon and how those who menstruate might get their period on a new moon or a full moon. So oftentimes, remember kind of in the 90s, early 2000s, when the character would say, I'm late. And then the other person's like, okay, we'll just get there faster. We'll cancel the reservation. They're like, no, my period, it was late. That was such a common trope in the 90s, early 2000s. But if that has happened to you, your cycle may be switching to either line up with the new moon or the full moon. And so the thought process is, if your period links up with the new moon, that you may be in a more fertile and abundant and creative stage in your life where you're starting new things or wanting to start new things, whether that be habits or financially, jobs, relationships, whatever that may be. And if your period switches to the full moon or in and around the full moon, that you're more in that goddess warrior phase where you are meant to be more of a leader or to be seen or to share your knowledge and power with others. So keeping track of that and noticing how you feel when that switch happens. Secondly, with regards to everyone, this is something that I think we've talked about in the past, but I don't think it gets a lot of attention. So, of course, we have our birthday, which is your solar return, when your sun comes back to the exact degree in which you were born. And we celebrate our solar returns to various degrees, depending on your persona and your personality. What we don't talk a lot about is your lunar return, which is when the moon comes back to the exact point in which you're born. So we have a lunar birthday every month, every 28 days, right? And so I will say that the days right before, like the 2 days before your lunar return, you might feel exhausted or tired or lethargic. And that's because the moon is ending off her cycle before she starts a brand new cycle for you personally. So in context, I personally have my natal moon in Aries. And so whenever the moon is in Pisces, and this is also very moon in Pisces energy, where it's more sleepy. It doesn't want to be overly productive, more of a dreamy type energy. But I know this weekend, I kind of went through it. I was so exhausted. I was like irritated. And I knew that we just had the full moon. And I knew that I was coming up to my personal lunar return. But I was just not in the right headspace. And I was trying to pull myself out of it. But I just allowed myself to feel what I needed to feel. And so in context, Brain Bootcamp is also very prominent in the fitness industry and personal training. So to understand these hormone cycles with regards to clients and how you train them is also just something that you can use for yourself with regards to your lunar birthday. So again, that's just looking at your own moon placement. And even if you don't know your exact birth time, you would be able to know what sign the moon was in if you have an accurate birthday. And so that understanding the 2 or 3 days before the moon lines up to your natal degree, that you might just feel tired and like you need a reset. And that's also very in line. Like if we look at a progressed moon, and this might be overly complicated, but for those that have a more advanced knowledge of astrology, when looking at your progressed chart, when your progressed moon is in that balsamic moon phase, so when the moon is within 45 degrees of the sun, and this is the same thing when we have the dark moon phase, right? The 2 or 3 days before a new moon. It's just meant to be more of a release, more of a rest, more of an internal, reflective, spiritual type energy. You're not meant to do a lot of work and to be productive and to start something new when you're in that final stretch of a lunar cycle, because literally the moon is losing light and she's about to start anew. So that was kind of a multi-tiered answer with regards to this Astro question of the week. If you need any clarity or if you have any follow-up questions or something didn't click, let me know because I can do a part 2 to this next week if we need to clarify anything. But given that we just had the full moon last week, you can kind of gauge how you're feeling. And for any of my kind of Pisces moon, Aries moon individuals watching this, you can also just reflect and see how the past few days have been. And also if you're feeling kind of a nice reset today, Monday, now that the moon is in Aries and kind of in a very sweet spot, conjunct Jupiter and making a trine to Venus as we start this week. Okay. Boom. Also, I appreciate how last week when I was saying, do you guys say okay back or give a nod when I always kind of, and that way it's almost like a habit now that I just say that to make sure everything makes sense. But I appreciate that people said, yes, I do nod in agreement or say okay back. So I appreciate you all. I try my best to get through all the comments and give answers when I can. So thank you for watching. As always, if there's any other general astro questions you'd like answered in a future video, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you feel comfortable to share what came up with that full moon, given that it was conjunct Saturn and making a square to Uranus, if there was any kind of unexpected things that caused you to slow down or to halt certain aspects of your life, what we're looking forward to for this week, especially with that nice Venus-Jupiter trine, and enjoy this last full week of Leo season. Put yourself out there, carpe diem, own the spotlight, and see how that all unfolds for you. Have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.